Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, joined by Josh Bell. We are coming to you pretty somber. Dallas Mavericks just lost Game 5 of the NBA Finals and lost the series 106-88. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I know we like to joke, but obviously didn't want the series to end this way. Obviously, I know it's tough. I know Mavs fans going through it. Hopefully we'll be able to, as we talk through the game, since the season's over and we kind of talk more about the season at large. I hope the takeaway as we get to the end of the week, because it's kind of crazy that it feels weird that today's Monday. I don't know why. It feels like it shouldn't be Monday. It should be Friday, or I cannot believe that now we've got the whole season, the whole week to go as we deal with the fallout of the season ending. But I hope is by the time we get to Friday, I hope most Mavs fans understand. I'm sure a lot of them understand right now that just how special this season was. But I also don't want to deny any. I think the big thing with us lately has been we don't want to deny fans their feelings because fans are allowed to fan. And
That's right.
You're allowed to be mad, frustrated. That
That's right.
Wax, but there's
I saw some dumb fuck Thunder fan who was a Russell Westbrook stan account in the year 2024, trying to make fun of Mavericks. And it's like, your team got bitch slapped by these Mavericks. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not in any mood for any of this stuff. I'm just not. I had a great time this season. This season has been absolutely insane. Personally, professionally, the series of things that have happened both in my real life and then between Josh and I bouncing around with this, it's if you would have told us when the Mavericks were 26-23 that the Mavericks were going to win or going to make it all the way to the NBA Finals, I would have told you were crazy.
You would have told them they're crazy if we told you they'd finish that season with 50 wins.
They came out of the All-Star break, guys, and they lost a lot of games. And we're like, what did they make these trades for? They were getting, because people forget this because this is just the way the season goes. But Josh and I were coming in here and talking about how teams were sitting on Luka and basically daring him to score 50 as he, does his, slowly working into moves plan. And the Mavericks are losing. And then all of a sudden, a weird thing happened where teams just stopped doing that. And the Mavericks defense really tightened up. They removed Josh Green from the starting lineup. They played Derek Jones Jr. in the starting lineup instead. And that seemed to unlock something within the Mavericks. And they went on a run. And it was a great run. And you're watching the series, and I think we'll talk about the series as a whole, or maybe the playoffs as a whole, the season as a whole, kind of as a series review. But free agency starts soon. The draft is soon. The Mavericks only have the 58th pick. The gauntlet of content is still upon us. And I don't want to overreact to any one thing tonight. Josh tried to tell everybody in the playoff preview, essentially saying, hey, the Celtics are an all-time great team. The Mavericks might be able to do some stuff, but the Mavericks' path to victory is much more narrow than the Celtics. And I think that's how this played out. I mean, tonight, if you were to really boil it down to two things as to why the Mavericks lost. First of all, the Celtics shot lights out from three. That had not happened yet. It just hadn't happened yet.
They did not shoot lights out from three.
No, they did when the game was on the line.
Oh, okay.
They were, while the game was in play, we're talking the first 2.5 quarters. The Celtics, they were 12 of 21 at half, man.
Oh, okay. There we go.
The game, that's where, I understand what you're talking about is
no, you're right. There was a lot of garbage time.
There's a lot of garbage time in this one.
You're right.
I need to started shooting stupid shit. And the second thing that happened, and the Mavericks' two best players were really not good when it mattered. You look at the stat lines right now, and you could make the case, okay, Luka finished with, let's just see here. Luka finished with 28 points and 12 of 25 shooting. Guys, he was 4 of 13 at one point. He was not very good. He was not very good. And it's okay to say that out loud. Kyrie Irving, really, really, really not good again in Boston. He was 2 of 10 at one point with one made three. You know, it starts from there. You just have to say it starts with the Mavericks' 2 best players being really bad. And if you can't admit that to yourself, then you're too much of a fan of one particular player. I'm sorry, like, I don't want to and if that's how you fan, I'm not going to argue with you tonight. I'm just really not. Like, our comment section is brutal right now with people who are fans of one player more than the other. Like, I'm a little different than Josh. Like, I still bleed fucking blue. Like, the Mavericks are the team that I root for. I'm not going to sit here and act like one thing was more important than the other. If you're a fan of one player over the team, then my brain wants to call you a name that I'm not gonna, because I don't want to tell people how to feel tonight. But just understand that's what I'm leaning towards. Then you go through the rest of it, and the rest of the Mavericks were also bad. Like, this was the Josh Green game. Like, oh my God. At one point, the Mavericks starters were 2 of 21 from 3. And those threes weren't made by Kyrie or Luka. They were, maybe one was by Irving and one was by Derek Jones Jr. I mean, PJ Washington had one of the most devastatingly awful performances I could have possibly imagined. Every time he touched the ball, bad things happened. Every time.
He definitely earned every bit of his game low minus 26. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was a rough game. He had as many points as turnovers. When a role player has 4 points and 4 turnovers, your team's not doing well.
And he had 2 points and 4 turnovers. Like, he didn't score that second bucket until the game was already 28 points deep or whatnot.
Yeah. As someone who maybe is I don't know if you would call me the president of the PJ Washington fan club, I take some responsibility, since I was the one who started this started this movement last summer, when I decided to write about it. And then everyone started to be like, oh, this guy seems like he's pretty good. And then, like, led to this moment. And I've been, I defended him during the Oklahoma City series. Our friend of the show, Matt Moore, who was like, he just, this was just ridiculous shot variance. And I was like, well, no, he's actually like pretty good. And maybe he's not this good, but like, I believe, because I've been a believer in his talent. I'm still am, but these last 2 games, even in game 4, he was not great.
No, he wasn't very good all series. Like, and
he had a horrible series.
Just if there are moments, like, there's a bunch of linchpin moments involved in this series where that's not the right word. Hinge points. That's a better point. Where PJ was involved. Like, he got fucked in the first half by an awful travel call that was not a travel. Like, there's simply no way you call that a travel any way, shape, or form. That NBA referee was really, really bad. But the rest of his game unraveled following that point. That's okay to say that out loud. It just is. Then you go through the rest of them. Gafford, pretty ineffective. Derek Jones Jr., stop challenging Kristaps Porzingis. Just no longer do that. The price for him ought to go down significantly after that series. Then you go through everybody else, and it's things get tight. Like, again, Lively didn't have a particularly effective game. Maxi Kleba, his minutes were devastating. Like, he just really bad.
Yeah, and the Celtics make you look really bad.
That's a great way. I think that's probably the best. And then the funny part, I like the guy. We got a super comment that I'll just address right now. Shout out to to 7 Harry Lime, who says, this is just to say thank you for doing a great job with this podcast all year. Also, I'm sorry Josh Green played well. Prayers sent. And really, Josh Green was the best. Like, Josh Green was the best Mavericks player. He really was. 5 of 8 from the floor, 2 rebounds. He scored 14 points. He made it look good. Like, shout out to him. Just really.
Yeah, it was just, we were coming out of game 4 because, like you said, you look, really it's Green's numbers were really the only thing that really pop out to you as having a great game if you watch the game live. So, like, it was a tough watch from that perspective. And I think coming out of game 4, I think we were wondering, okay, so was this something that was sustainable, or was this just the Celtics totally took their foot off the gas for one game up 3-0, because this is a team that does take their foot off. They as great as they are, they usually have one game where they kind of are like, okay, we don't really, we're not as interested in winning this game. And then they kind of kick your butt for the other 4 or 5 games in the series. And, that was game 4. And we were wondering, hey, maybe more Exum minutes, maybe more Josh Green minutes. Green did play well. That Exum didn't really play much at all. He had 9 minutes and didn't do too much. And I think it was pretty clear the Mavericks kind of emptied the tank. Last home game, potentially of the season, sent the fans home happy. Luka in particular was a madman in game 4 in terms of like his effort level on defense and what he was doing getting to the rim. And he looked like he had nothing left in the tank. Like he just, and this isn't like, I'm not even trying to criticize. I'm just saying like what happened, like just what happened. Like it just looked like he had whatever he had left, whether it's injuries or fatigue, or just the enormous workload catching up to him because his usage in the finals has been considerably up compared to the other 3 rounds.
Sure.
It just looked like he didn't have it. And, he didn't get to the rim. His 3-point shot has been gone for like 5 games now because it looks like he has 0 legs because, again, every time you look at his right knee, it's bleeding underneath his sleeve. Like, It's pretty obvious he just did not have the legs to get into his threes. He went he only made 3 threes in the final 3 games. He attempted, and I can't even, 15, 24. So 3 of 24 from 3, my quick math to end the series. Like it didn't look like he had it. Like, the shot just looked off. Like it wasn't like he was rimming out some good looks. Like he was just missing shot. Any jumpers, just didn't look right. And defensively, like he was, he had some moments one-on-one where he was really dialed in and moving his feet, but off ball was really difficult. And you could kind of tell, like, he was just like, okay, look, if I've only got this much percentage of energy left, I can't play 45 minutes of balls out defense and also be the person initiating. And again, this is the response to a lot of people is going to be, well, Luka needs to get in better shape. And my rebuttal to that isn't necessarily that you're wrong. Like, of course, he should continue to get in as good a physical shape as he can. But to what end? Because I don't think there is a physical shape he can achieve.
I think that's right.
I don't think there's a physical shape the human body can achieve.
You've been making that argument for several days now.
When you're asking a guy to have a 38 usage, like, I don't think he can also be a top flight defender. Like even LeBron, like the only other person is LeBron, and it's pretty clear LeBron is one of one in terms of physical stature in the NBA. There's no one like that. Like you look at Tatum and Brown, and people are like, well, they're 2-way players, and it's like, yeah, well, they don't use the ball nearly as much as Luka does, and because they've got one of the best 1 through 6 lineups in the league. Like there's got to be a point where the Mavericks, it's kind of twofold. Does Luka want to play differently? Like, will he give up the ball even more? And I think we saw some of the answers to that during the regular season, where it looked like he gave it up more. He pushed out ahead a little bit more. And then 2, can you build a roster that just lets him do that? And they got close this season. That's why they're in the finals. But, they just go against a team that had the 4th best net rating all time. And it just looks a little worse.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's worth acknowledging the fact that the Mavericks, they went back to a very ISO heavy ball specifically because of how the Celtics defended.
Right.
They're Istok Franco showed one of those screenshots where it's like, oh, here the Mavericks. It was a joke to the extent of there was a lot of talk about how the Celtics were essentially guarding ISO, like Luka and ISO, which, I mean, when you load up 4 guys on one side of the floor and you don't particularly care about who's on the opposite side, while also being a very effective, just helping off these plays, they didn't care about any of the Mavericks role players. They didn't care. And, that's one of these things I think that to a certain extent we had been wondering when that was going to happen. I mean, we've talked about this for a long time. The Mavericks are an awful shooting team, but they traded shooting for athleticism, and the athleticism is what got them here. I'm trying not to overreact to one particular series because the Celtics are a very, very good, well-constructed team designed to break opponents' game plans.
And specifically this Mavericks game plan.
Sure. And I'm not interested. I mentioned this last series, but it's like, if you think the Wolves would have done better against this Celtics team on offense, then you don't know what you're talking about. I think maybe you could make the argument that the Thunder might have had just because of how they space too.
Theoretically, the Thunder, but we saw,
and I think Denver as well,
the playoff experience,
but not the Wolves, not the Wolves whatsoever. Denver and probably Oklahoma City, but it's just it's different. It's how teams play. Like as the series went on, Luka had less and less space to play with, and because Kyrie was so bad on the road, it effectively didn't matter. Like they didn't care that Kyrie scored 35 points. I mean, game 3 for Luka, as we've already discussed, was a disaster. If the Mavericks have certain sort of inflection points that they're sitting on, it's the tail end of game 2 in Boston. It's then the entirety of game 3 where Luka was out of control. Those are the ones that were pretty brutal. But that's just what basketball is. I mean, I'm sure the Thunder have particular, they look at elements of things that happen with PJ Washington's hot shooting or with, Lou Dort playing poor in a particular series. I mean, again, like I just can't stress enough how much I don't give a shit about the Timberwolves. I know that they won these close games. They won the close games. That's the point that matters. Like, but the Thunder, I think, was a little different of a series. But we're here now, and we're watching what the Celtics did, and they shut the Mavericks down in very, very specific ways. And I think I find myself a little bit frustrated from a conceptual standpoint in that I feel like Jason Kidd never really countered with anything. Like they never changed their lineups. They tried slight variations of rotations. But then if you were to ask me, what do I think Jason Kidd should have done? I don't have a good one outside of more lively minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are pretty mad about the lineups, and that's difficult. Like the only thing I could have thought of is maybe you start Lively over Gafford, but I think that the way that the postseason run had gone, it just never really presented itself, and especially like they won the way they won Game 4. Like I don't think you make a lineup change coming. If they would have changed the lineup, it probably should have happened after Game 2. But even then, like I don't know if starting Lively over Gafford changes anything considerably about the way this series went, so that's nitpicky. And then other than that, like the bench was a disaster. Like the lineups were weird because he just kept trying different bench guys because no one really gave him consistent minutes, and that was a factor starting from Game 1 against the Clippers. Like the Mavericks starting 5 and then Lively were really the 6 players they relied on, and from the 7 to 10 spots, like I mean, it was a roulette wheel, especially when Maxi Kleber gets hurt, comes back, and it clearly isn't as effective. Like, clearly looks like a different player since before that shoulder injury compared to when he came back from it, because he was actually having a pretty good series, I felt, against the Clippers, at least defensively. Again, maybe that's just matchup because the Clippers bigs aren't really dangerous, compared to what the Celtics have, or what the Thunder would have thrown out, or the Wolves, like if Maxey was fully healthy for that series. So he played. The people get mad at the Tim Hardaway Jr. minutes, but he tried all these.
there were too many Tim Hardaway minutes, buddy. Like I know there were too many over 2 games. It's like when I understand the game was already out of reach, but they were ISOing Timmy and Luka over and over and over again. And it's like, what are we doing?
I know. But then you watch, PJ and Derrick Jones Jr. are combined 1 for 9 from 3. It's just like, okay, like, what do you do? Like, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not trying to say Tim should have played a lot or played better. I think lineup and rotation wise, I think he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. If you want to go after coaching and tactics, the thing that I was very puzzled by was throughout this series, the Mavericks really showed little to none offensive counters in the way they were playing. You saw bits and pieces, like when they posted up Gafford a few times against Jason Tatum, when the Celtics would put a wing on Gafford to try to get them out of that. I thought that was pretty good, but they weren't really consistent with going to that, which I guess also makes sense because like you don't want to divert your whole offense into posting up Daniel Gafford. Like that might be playing into what the Celtics,
which like when the second half started and they did do, like, it just happened to be not like an ISO, but Gafford getting all the way to the rim and just short arming a layup over Tatum. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and the thing that I was kind of befuddled by was they just didn't show any type of off-ball creativity. Hold on. Sorry, I had to sneeze right in midpoint. But like we saw some things at the end of the regular season. We saw some things in the Thunder series and the Wolves series, especially with Kyrie Irving off the ball. And that did not happen in this series. Like Kyrie's off-ball movement was like nowhere to be found.
Nope.
His catch and shoot 3 attempts, like I mean, I think he took. I can count on one hand, I think, how many catch and shoot 3 attempts he took in this series. Almost all of his threes were pull up, transition, pull up.
But the shots that he missed were shots that he's been making. Like in the first half, it was kind of a flare screen action up at the top. It was at the top of the screen, so the left side of the floor. And he's shooting over Kristaps Porzingis, who moved like a mummy. Really, honestly, the Porzingis minutes were a gift to the Mavericks. And Kyrie just missed the 3. I mean, the kind of threes that had gone down for him the last play, like the entire playoffs run, did not go down for him on the road. Yeah. He has some demons he's got to sort out. Sorry. I've really appreciated the Kyrie Irving experience this year. It's been much better than I ever could have thought, but 3 straight horrendous game, you know?
Yeah. I think he only had really one or two great game. 2 good games in this series. You know, he was pretty good in games 3 and game 4. Yeah. Both the 2 home games. So he was really bad in the road games. And the thing is, you're right. Like, yeah, he was missing shots that he was making in the first 3 rounds, but also he just wasn't getting the easy shots that he got in the first 3 rounds. And he was just standing in the corner a lot. And I don't know if that was by design or what, but like I pointed out, like I've shown some action where the Mavericks kind of do like some double screens for Luka with Kyrie setting one of the screens and then popping out to the wing and like doing some stuff off ball. Like we saw what he did to Anthony Edwards when Anthony Edwards tried to guard him in the West Finals, like running him through the washing machine or however you want to call it. That's probably a bad analogy. Sorry, I got my phrases wrong, but like just constantly moving around without the ball, and that was such a big factor in why they were so successful this season offensively. Was Luka giving up some of his control on the offense so that they could do this Kyrie off ball stuff. And that's why it's worked so well. And like when people saw the trade happen last year when Kyrie was here, they're like, oh, it's not going to work. It's like, well, Kyrie's got a lot of experience being a really good off ball player. And it just didn't happen this series. And like, they kept going to the one-on-one stuff. And when I was at game 3 and I asked them after the game and they felt like that, again, this is talking to the media after the game. I don't know how truthful they're being, but they said like, no, we're actually like, this is what we want to do. We want to do one-on-one so that we force them out of it because we score so well in this one-on-one coverage.
But they don't.
They didn't. It was just like, you got to try. Like they just offensively, they looked the same from games 1 to games 5, with the only difference being a couple possessions here or there. Posting up Gafford. They did a better job in I think game 3 and game 4 of going after like Al Horford and Xavier Tillman, but like it just wasn't enough, and they needed to get a little bit more creative off the ball, which was a shame because I thought they showed some of that before the regular season.
All right, guys, I want to take a quick break. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know it's not fun to lose. I mean, there's really no other way around that, but this has been a long season, a weird season. Josh and I, we got like fired, but the podcast network we worked for effectively slowly started dissolving, in large part to give Andre Iguodala a podcast because reasons. I mean, it is what it is. We were free agents for a while towards the end of one of the worst Mavericks seasons in some time. We started the YouTube channel right as the Mavericks were self-combusting. It was basically April of 2023. And in the last 14 months, we've grown our channel from 0 people to like 3,200. We don't know what we're doing. We regularly do this podcast. We got peers and friends in the space like Nick Angstad over at Locked On Mavs, but Nick does it for his job now. It's a full-time thing. That's how hard Nick has worked to turn into a long-time thing. And I am occasionally just sort of amazed. My friend Spike Eskin, who runs the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast and is also on radio up in Philadelphia, he told me once, he's like, I told him that we had 25,000 people to listen to this podcast in a given month, which is true. 25,000 individual people have downloaded this podcast in a lot of cases multiple times. And he said, think about that. He's like 25,000 people. That's more people than sit in the American Airlines Center. He's right. And so sometimes I get a little salty that we're not more, but then I realize what we are. And that's largely because of the people who come in here, who listen on audio streams and who just continue to support us. And in some cases, hate listen. Love those people too. We're really grateful for your support this year. We're going to continue doing it. Josh and I will probably not podcast with the frequency, but we will be here. Free agency starts soon. You know, I wasn't going to host a group therapy, but I think I'm going to tonight just because it feels like there's a little bit of angst that friends want to get out. So if you're listening to this show and it's your first time or your 100th time, just know that Josh and I are grateful for you. If you consider subscribing to the show, whether it's on YouTube or whether it is on your podcast platform, we would very much appreciate it. I'm going to take a quick break and we're going to insert some audio ads, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about some of the super comments that we have, and then we'll close out the show and I will head on over to group therapy. So Josh and I will be right back. All right, thank you so much for listening to those ads. So we got a few super comments I want to get to. Shout out to my man Henry, constant super chatter, giving us tips here and there throughout the season. He says, run it back. Love that positive attitude, even after losing in the finals. Then my friend JM3245 said, on Friday, I committed to $100 when the Mavs win Game 7. Came up short, but here's a little something for a season of great pods. Thanks to you both and to all the other guests over the last few months. Our guy Cowboy says, MFFL, I'm unsure if the Mavericks know who the third and fourth scoring and ball handling options are going into the preseason next year, but still super proud of the guys. David McDaniel says, Mavs are a whole is greater than the sum of the parts team. When connected, they're a different beast. When we aren't, we look like a much worse team. Luka fan 77 says, thank you so much. Just wanted to say thank you guys for everything this year. What a run. We will be back. Need some spacing and a third creator. Omar says, thank you guys for the content this season. Hope you guys continue to grow. Our man Will says, last Kirkle jerk of the season until next year. Will we keep going throughout the offseason? My man Glenn King, who I'm hopefully going to hang out with in Vegas when I go out there next month, says, I need to be talked off the ledge. Other than Josh Green, I didn't see anyone out there giving 150%. Then, holy shit, Stephen Long with an absolutely preposterous super chat. Thank you so much, Stephen. Not the result I hoped for, but if you told me at the beginning of the season we would have finished second, I wouldn't have snapped it up. Thanks for a year of great analysis and entertainment. Stephen, that's an incredible comment. Oh my God, we got another one. Sebastian Vera says, profound thanks to you guys, truly inspired by your dedication and passion that enhanced joy in wins and helped process losses. Let's celebrate the team that brought us so much unexpected joy this season and with so much to look forward to. Cheers. Then another incredible comment. Bobby Chapman says, great season, boys. Honestly, this team way outperformed expectations. Hopefully Luka rests up and gears up for a ruthlessness MVP type season. Love you, boys. I'll be on video next year. Then we have Claudius with a $10 super sticker. Thank you, Claudius. LOL, what 31? Man, you guys have left a lot of comments. I wasn't paying attention. Super long, season-long lurker, best Mavs pod with the best Mavs takes. Thanks again for a great year. Klotzman84 says, thank you both for a great year. Longtime commenter Joe Biden says, here's $14. Thank you so much, guys. That was an incredible run of super comments, like $400 to $500 worth, if I can count correctly. Like, Jesus Christ. Don't know what to do with that other than be eternally grateful for the people who help support this show. Josh, are there more things? Are there more things? I don't know what to do now.
I don't know. It feels weird to go back and talk about the individual game, but like 15 offensive rebounds for the Celtics, by the way. We didn't really talk about that in the first half. That was killer, but yeah, I just keep thinking about like when they were 26 and 23 and your wife scheduled your 40th birthday party, because at that point in the season it was like, well, they're gonna be done, right? They're not gonna still be playing games, and like it's kind of crazy. Like you and your wife had a baby in this season. Like that happened. Like it is weird to think that we are still in that. Like that. Like it already feels like that happened 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just it's just crazy how long these seasons, like it's June 17th, and like we really started picking up in earnest end of September, beginning of October, when we're gearing up right before opening night. Like it's just the NBA season is so long.
It's real long. I mean, the playoffs are 2 solid months.
It's crazy. It just gives me more appreciation for, like these guys that are in the final, like LeBron's run where he was in the finals every year. Like those steroids must be awesome. Like I don't know how he does it. Like it's just ridiculous. Like I'm tired. I don't even playing. Like it's just crazy.
No, I mean, I've got I have a real, it's ridiculous. And Henry talked to me about this. He sent me some texts. I need to be taking magnesium, but I'm honestly so tired. I've had an eye twitch for about a month.
I'm so tired.
I'm so tired. And I and we don't do this for work. Like it's not our work. It's our passion play. And we get to the end.
I've got a meeting at 8:30 tomorrow morning. For real time.
No, and don't write about this. There's nothing to write about. Write about it in the coming days. I mean, I'm going to be throwing up off-season plan stuff. I mean, draft is next week. We got one pick. I don't really care.
The Bronny pick.
Yeah, and then we'll probably do a lot of player reviews. We'll talk about free agency, but I'm not even my bearings don't exist.
I know. I think the main thing is just hope fans don't kill each other tonight, because it really was a pretty ridiculous season. I'm just going to keep going back to that when they were 26 and 23. I'll just be it's just such an insane run to go from that to the finals. And it's not even from that moment, they've basically been winning almost every game. It's not like they kind of crept in the playoffs and then just got hot. They went from 26 and 23 to 50 and 32, and then they go through. Then they win. They get all the way to the NBA Finals. When was the last? I mean, they just lost 4 out of 5 games. This team hasn't lost 4 out of 5 games since that stretch right coming out of the All-Star break, right? When they lost 5 of 6.
Yeah.
So we haven't watched this team lose this many games in this short amount of period of time since March 5th.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of it's just kind of wild to just see that progression of where the team is. And yeah, I mean, 12 months ago, we were thinking this team is not dead and buried, but the organization has to do some heavy lifting. And they're going to have to be I think the big thing is we were saying, they need to be patient, because they're not going to be able to rebuild this thing in a year or two. And then what do? They rebuild this thing in a year or two, and they go from 11th place to the NBA Finals. So I don't know. What do we know? But apparently, just makes me more curious to see what they're doing this summer, and we'll have plenty thoughts on that as we get.
Yeah. I don't know what those thoughts will be. I mean, I one of the things I kind of grew and this is a me thing. I think that when you run a run, when you that's not the right way. I mean to phrase this at all. When you attempt to run a show and be part of a community that really encourages fan participation, you run into people that just have a wildly different worldview than you. And you talked earlier in the show about not telling people how to fan. I've just grown weary, and I don't know what to do, because I would love to continue to engage with people like this, but it's there were a lot of folks over the course of the year that just didn't have any interest in any sort of Maverick related criticism whatsoever. And that's not how I consume sports. And so as we kind of headlong into this, after just almost reaching the pinnacle, I think it's worthwhile to parse both what worked and what didn't. Because if you don't build or learn, or at least be frank about what didn't work, then I don't really see how the team grows from that. You know what I mean?
No, I know. I think I do. It sounds like you feel like you're kind of wrestling with this. I understand that this season was incredible, but also there's going to be people that tell me everything's fine, and they don't, there's always room for improvement. If
this is the mountaintop for a Luka Doncic led team, I have mixed feelings on that. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I understand. It's tough because you don't want to come off, you don't want to come off as like you're trying to belittle the accomplishment of what the season was.
Absolutely not.
But also you understand that like, hey, the goal of this is to win. You play to win the games, right? Like, so they have room to improve. Like, they're not a perfect team, or they would have won the title this year. And if the Celtics are going to be back, and Denver and Minnesota and Oklahoma City is looming, like, as they're already a great team with young players and all these other teams that can trade and make a lot of trades because they got a lot of trade assets, like the Memphis Grizzlies, who kind of were a team on the rise that fell off because everything went wrong. Like, they're not really going away. Like, they're going to be back next season, I would assume, and they've got a lot of wiggle room to play with their draft picks and capital. Like, you think back to the Dirk years when they made it in 06, and you're like, you're gonna come right back, and you never know.
I gotta say something. There's this guy who's in the comments all the time. His name's Fan123. Shout out for showing up every time. Any year without a championship is a failure in the Luka era. If this is how you approach sports, then every moment you spend watching is a waste of time. One team wins every year. One fucking team. It's so hard to win a championship. I watched Dirk struggle through every possible level of adversity. Every single one. And you're going to tell me that shit was a waste of time because Dirk didn't win every year? Fuck out of here. Grow up. Stop being a baby. This shit is hard. You're going to tell Luka that this was a waste of his year? Get out of here. My God, some of you are so stupid with this stuff. It's supposed to be fun, and you can't have any fun because all you do is talk about how everything's a failure. God damn, that shit wears me out. You think the Celtics would give up the last 6 years of their struggle for this one moment? I guarantee you they wouldn't. It's about the journey.
They're also not here without that. Like, that's what leads them to this moment. You don't, like, what did Dirk, remember what Dirk talks about after the failures of 06 and 07 and how much that shaped him and how he finished his career?
My time, your time as a fan is not wasted on this. Dirk's or Luka's time is not wasted. Oh my God, one of my college fraternity brothers is in the chat. And he just called me AMP, which was my nickname, which stood for anger management problem.
I cannot imagine how you got that nickname with your friends.
Can't imagine.
This is truly a mystery.
I don't know. It's just like, to imply all of this is a waste of time means you're an idiot.
Also means you're wasting your time watching.
Yeah.
Which is like, if that's how you feel, I don't, do what you want to do. But if that's how we thought about it, like, I would not be staying up every night till 2 a.m. writing stories and us recording podcasts. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what else to say.
Now my wife is in the chat. Jesus Christ.
You woke the baby.
He's on the other side of the house.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Look, she says time for a new shirt. Doncic Lively 2028. Probably. That's actually.
Don't you have a shirt like that, kind of?
No, but the shirt I have on now is Doncic Hardaway.
Oh, that did not.
No, but dude, I've had this thing since 2020. Right. That it is still a thing is kind of incredible.
That's kind of funny. That was back when Hardaway was making a lot of threes, so that made more sense. Okay.
I'm so tired.
I know. I don't know how to follow that up. I
didn't scare Fan123 out of here. He cares too much. I know him. I know that isn't what he meant. I know he's frustrated with the front office and years of things that didn't go their way. That's what he actually was intending to say. I'm almost 100% positive. And to a certain degree, Josh and I lived there because we did this in 2020 where, like, the Mavericks fucked up that free agency and we just spent like 2 hours being like, what is happening?
And then they rectified that stuff, and that's why they're finals. Like, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
JM13245 says, awesome shirt, didn't age well, but awesome anyways. I would argue it aged well because I would never, when the Mavericks traded for Tim Hardaway, I was like, he's the tax. The Mavericks are going to get off him as soon as possible. And he's been with the team the whole time. They extended him. That is crazy.
Has he been a Maverick longer than he's been anything else?
I would guess so.
Maybe the Knicks.
He was traded, like he was on Atlanta twice, I think, or at least New York twice. Like he's impressively weird.
The Dallas Mavericks are his longest tenured team now. He was 4 years with the Knicks, 2 years with Atlanta, and now he's just finished up his 5th full season in Dallas.
Paul Armstrong gave us a super comment right along these lines. This is my Super Bowl. This is God Allah Zenu willing. The last time I ever have to see THJ in a Mavericks jersey.
Zenu is cracking me up.
I needed it.
Wait, so you think? Doesn't he have another year left on his deal?
Oh yeah, he's absolutely a Maverick. Like him and Josh, like Josh Green.
I was like, who's do you want to give up a pick to trade him? Who's trading for him right now?
Well, we're gonna get into this stuff soon. I don't want to talk about all the off-season stuff. So all right. I'm gonna host the next live show. We'll figure out what our upcoming streams are gonna be. Here's how you actually, guys, like I think there's a setting on YouTube where if you want to join a live stream, you can get notified every single time. So I don't know how do you actually do it, but there's something within the page settings where whenever we go live, there's your ability to get noticed. I try to publicize this stuff. We'll try to do it on a regular schedule. I bet what we'll do with at least player recaps and kind of season review type stuff, we'll do like twice a week. Free agency will happen. I'm going to go to Vegas for Summer League. I'm trying to bully Ben Zadell to go as well. I don't think we'll really have anything to write about with regards to Summer League other than Omax like playing a gajillion minutes.
And Derek Lively shooting 5 threes a game.
Do you think he'll even play?
I don't know. Maybe.
That's the best part. That's like the speculation is everybody's favorite part. So we'll figure that stuff out soon. All right, guys, hang around here for group therapy. This has been Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. Thank you so much for an amazing season. Thank you so much for hanging out. Please be willing to stay along as we continue our journey throughout the offseason because there's actually a surprising amount to talk about. There really, really is. We have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, look, when LeBron gets signed here in July, we're gonna have a lot. We're gonna have a lot of stuff.
Do you know how I'm pre-tired thinking about a LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic like team, like Also, I'm just putting this out into the void. I'm putting together a Google form at some point. We're going to ask for more contributors to Mavs Moneyball. So if you at all have like your comments, Josh can attest to this. I bring on people from all walks of life, all opinions. We do not have a Mavericks point of view on our site other than we want your earnest take on things. So if you are in the comments and you say, yeah, I can do it better than these two jokers, maybe you can. I don't know. We're okay with that.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We have one more super comment. Shout out to Volta Del Mar. When people talk about the other superstars, I say I won't be impressed until they can prove that they can win with Tim Hardaway Jr. Poor Timmy, taking shots on the way out. We'll hang around here for a Mavs group therapy. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and so far as you can. Bye, guys. Hello, Mavs fans. Thank you for joining me once again for a season-ending sad episode of Group Therapy. The only way we were going to end with a Mavs party is with the Mavs championship, and they were unable to do so. They lost in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, 106-88. For those of you listening on an audio stream, if you missed the recap show, Josh Bowe and I rambled for about 40 minutes. I yelled at some people towards the tail end of the show. A good time was had by all. If you're looking to join this show live, we already got 7 people hanging out in the comments. We got 2 Glens, my favorite Glens on planet Earth. We got my friend Sam showing his face. We got Sudarshan from India, Rain from Australia, or I'm pretty sure it's Australia, not New Zealand. Don't want to fuck that up. We'll be on, until people don't want to talk anymore because this is going to be the last time we do this kind of show. Though I will say, in the offseason, we will have various opportunities for live shows where you guys can come talk with us. I see a lot of my friends. We're just going to go in order. Starting out first from India, Sudarshan.
Hey, Kirk. Good morning.
Good morning. What's going on, man? Sorry you had to witness a loss to start your day.
It's okay. I knew it was coming after Game 4, and I saw Zach Zarba was the official. I knew that was coming the moment I saw that. In any case,
Little Zach Zarbo. That's interesting. Go with it.
I mean, it just felt like we were happy to not get swept. It was kind of like the World Series. So
I am with that. Yes, that's true.
I think everyone was just exhausted. But I mean, it was a fun season. No one expected us to be in the finals. We rebuilt the team on the fly. Things are enjoyable again. And I might be the only Mavs fan in the world who says this. Please no LeBron James on this team next season.
Okay.
I do not. I mean, we just went. We have enough drama as it is, with all the national media just constantly shitting on all our players all the time. I don't think we need the LeBron drama on top of all of that.
Fair enough.
But I mean, yeah, it was great. I can't wait to see what this team actually becomes with a solid training camp off season. I think Nico Harrison will cement his place as executive of the year if he actually trades Tim Hardaway Jr. That's been kind of like the silver lining on top of this entire playoff run. I'm like, this is going to be the last time that we ever see this man in a Mavericks jersey. So
it's so hard, man, because I get why everybody wants him gone, because he's just not it, and because frankly, kid can't help himself. But he helped keep the team afloat at some really bad times.
No, and that's great. But then the point is that when you're 32, and you're in your 10th or 11th season, I would expect a little maturity in his game. Yeah. The fact that he still is situationally unaware to the extent that he is, that's what pisses everyone off. That's the main thing. But I mean, the other great thing about this finals run is it's finally helped me get my routine in order. Like I'm notoriously not a morning person, but I mean, I'm always up at 6 a.m. for a Mavs game. So I just need to pretend like there's a Mavs game for the rest of my life and I will be up on time. So it's awesome.
That's really funny.
Yeah. In fact, during the 2011 finals run was just after I'd graduated from college. And I'd taken a year off, and my mom was kind of aghast at the fact that I would wake up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. to watch the Mavs, but then the rest of the days I'd be up at like 12. Like it was. she's like, I don't understand how crazy you are. And then I was showing her the entire Mavs or just general basketball or even European football fan base. And I'm like, there are other lunatics like me. I'm not alone in the universe.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, shout out to you and Josh for actually doing this the whole season. I can't imagine how exhausting it must be for you guys.
Man, you know, it's going to sound kind of weird. Actually, it's not. Anybody that knows me knows, like, I spent 2011. My wife and I had been married for a couple of years. We didn't really have a lot of friends where we lived. We lived in this tiny apartment. And I watched the Mavericks championship kind of with her and me and our dog. Like, I had nobody to celebrate with. I remember the Mavericks won the title, and I took my dog for a walk. I had nobody to talk about this stuff with. And so, like,
I get that.
And yeah, because I'm sure you do actually with your situation. It's like when you find a basketball fan, it's probably like, hey.
I mean, forget the basketball fan, a Mavericks fan here in India. I mean, everyone over here, even if they are fans, they are Laker fans, or now they're Warriors fans because I mean they're bandwagoning. And I'm sure at some point there will be about a few Celtics fans around. But I mean, yeah, I've been a Mavs fan since 2000. So it's been nearly 25 years of this. So, I I mean, yeah, in some sense, it's been a weird situation.
I'm gonna post something in the private chat that you can see, but it's another India-based Mavericks fan. He's a sports writer, but if you don't follow him, you should.
Right.
His name is Ishan.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I've-
Ishan Bhatta. I don't want to fuck up.
Ishan Bhattacharya. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
great.
I do see his stuff occasionally.
Good.
So yeah, I mean,
Man, I'm really glad you've joined. I'm really glad you're hanging out, and I look forward to talking to you more. All right.
yeah, and I mean, this might be a little weird or anything like that, but I'm probably going to be in Dallas in November.
Cool.
So we should
Yeah.
catch up for a beer or something like that.
I trust me. I hang out with all the weirdos. My single favorite thing. I did get kicked out of one Mavs group chat for some old bad tweets once. That was fun, but I've since gone to other Mavs hangouts. All right. Thank you so much, Cherishing. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Take care, man.
All right. Talk soon. We just had somebody try to join when the studio was full. We have a packed room. I'm kind of surprised by this. So, if you're in line, stay in line. All right. So I recognize everybody else in the chat, and there's somebody with a absolutely incredible stage name of Bangladesh Timmy. And I have to bump Bangladesh Timmy to the front of the line because I'm just assuming it's Bangladesh Tim Hardaway here to defend himself. Hello.
What's going on, man? You know it's your man, Henry.
Oh my God, Henry, son of a bitch. Henry's always teasing me with these new names. Henry, what do you got for us?
What's going on, man? Before we get started, what are you grading Jason Kidd's performance? I guess you can start with the finals or the season, but obviously just for the playoffs, what are you giving it a grade?
Season, a solid A. Playoffs, a solid B plus. I want to be mad at him for some of the things he did in the finals, but I also don't know what his other options were. I mean, the Celtics do like the vice when Kyrie and Luka started the series so tight. The vice just slowly squeezed them.
My thing is I want, and again, I made a post about this, but I think the guy was trolling and laughing at me. But I think we should obviously switch to more of a European offense. As far as the head coach, again, I'd still probably put Budenholzer. I doubt you're going to steal away. Okay, obviously for the big basketball fans, and it's fucking impossible, but if we can get Partizan's coach, would be amazing. But again, slim to zero chance of that happening. Real Madrid's coach, I don't know. Igor, where's Igor right now? Where's Igor Coco? Is he still in? Where's he at?
Oh no, sorry, taking a big drink.
No, you're all good. So I'd say either Mike Budenholzer or Igor as the head coach. And some people are going to laugh at it, but I'd have D'Antoni as an offensive coordinator. But we have to.
Do you know how old that man is?
I know. You know how old Popovich is, but. Looking at Indiana play Boston, they gave them a hell of a more of a scare than we did, even though it was a sweep. Just with their constant flow, constant motion, constant DHOs. We need to. I was arguing with the Warriors fans. If you look at the Warriors in 2022, and then if you look at the way Indiana played them last round, that constant motion, constant movement, not allowing them to get set up. Like Curry wasn't doing a lot of ISOs, a lot of screen handoffs, relocation, easy threes. Like we needed more of that, more movement. We have to dead that ISO shit. This year, did it. I don't want to see that shit again. So I think we do need to change up on the coaching staff. If Kidd wants to stay, fine. But we have to get some European coaches in here and completely revamp and overhaul the offense. I do want to see more Omax because he's our best point of attack defender, which absolutely killed us this season. So I would like to see more of a motion offense. Obviously, I'm a Kyrie fan club, and he plays like dog shit. I don't know what demons he has, but Jordan had the bad boy Pistons in the Celtics for a little bit. Braun had San Antonio in the Celtics for a little bit. Boston's your boogeyman for Kyrie. So until he overcomes that, it doesn't matter if we get back here again next year. If we just run into the Celtics again, until he overcomes those demons, like, I don't know. What do you think?
He's got, Kyrie's talked a lot. I've appreciated how candid he's been this offseason, this finals, this whole season about a lot of stuff. Kyrie's grown on me in ways that I couldn't have ever predicted. But I also think that there was, within the final stuff, I almost think he crossed the Rubicon into too much honesty. There was a lot of like, these guys are in my head. It was like he was trying to overcome it with honesty. And that wasn't the path for me. I appreciate how much everybody likes him. Do you see all the hugs he gave everybody at the end? I mean, I think Tatum is probably the only one that wanted to strangle him at some point from what I've read and heard over the years. But everybody else seems to it's a different time in their lives as years ago. But Kyrie's talked a lot about how he's aging, and as he's aging, he's understanding what he can do mentally versus what he can't do physically, and is starting to recognize that. Kyrie's range of outcomes is so interesting to me. It's like he could play another 8 years at a high level, or he could retire in 2. And I just don't know what to expect from him. I hope he's happy. I do think the Celtics basically showed, all right, ball handling is good, but the Mavericks needed a third one. Like every time PJ dribbled the ball tonight, it was like it's like watching the 8-year-olds I coach. Just can't
seriously. I don't know why the fuck he keeps bringing that ball up. I guess you had Jordan Poole, but who else really did Golden State had, and they did just fine in 2022. Granted, this wasn't the same Boston team,
Sure.
But
yeah.
I don't really think they had another third ball handler. So how did they see success, and how did Indiana see success when we didn't? We were clearly more talented than Indiana.
The pace was a big element. I mean, the pace really was, and some of that lies at both Luka and Kyrie's feet. I think to a degree that they just have less ground to cover. It's a different with the Pacers. You're having to guard 60 feet of basketball. It's just a different world. Man, thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to fly through people because I am fading. I'm just toast, and they're all like 14 people waiting to talk. I appreciate you all season, man. I hope we talk soon, okay?
Yes, sir. See you, man.
All right. Coming up next then is my man, Rain. Rain, man, what's going on?
Oh, it's, all things considering, I'll take the end of the season 99 times out of 100, with that one time being the time they do win a championship.
Sure.
That's where we're at. To anyone who, look, it's all right to feel down and feel sad about not winning the championship. They were, if you want to say, they were close. They made it to the finals. But if you think about it from this perspective, this team is pretty young. If you think about its construction, they've only been together a couple of months. There's a bunch of genuinely young players on the roster with plenty of room to improve. Imagine next season if Lively hits 33% of threes, and maybe he takes 2 or 3 a game.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome. If Derek Jones, if we can keep him, that is, and there's an interesting rule change I'm hearing about where they could basically the Mavs could basically sign him now, from what I understand. Or
which player?
From what I understand, teams can now negotiate with their own free agents before.
The Mavericks are like in a quiet level of cap hell, so I don't think they can do anything with Lively right now. No.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if they could keep him, if he and or PJ could improve their above the break 3, not drastically, just even a little bit.
Sure.
Just even a little bit. If they just each hit one more or hit any threes a game, basically in these finals, that would have changed a lot. I also see we have some tradable contracts. We have some young players that have some talent. Hey, Josh Green just played really well in the last game of the NBA Finals. That's going to stick in some GM's heads. Timmy can shoot, but he's an expiring contract. And so maybe Nico can find another diamond in the rough to actually take a chance on, and maybe he makes that extra swing. Maybe somebody can find someone who can shoot and defend and fuse Timmy and someone else together, basically. There's a lot of ways to potentially go up from here, if we think about it that way. And maybe necessarily they don't reach the NBA Finals next season, but the team itself is also in a better spot. So I'm choosing to look forward and see that the future is bright.
Like it. I think it's a fair take, man. I've appreciated you joining and hanging out. All right.
No worries. Thanks, Kirk. We'll catch you later.
Talk soon. All right. Coming up first of my 2 regular callers, we have a Glenn-based power ranking I'm going to have to establish because we have 2 Glens that I very much enjoy. Glenn, what's going on, man?
What's up, Kirk?
I am just I don't know how I'm going to make it through the rest of the work week.
Slowly, with a lot of caffeine, probably.
My caffeine intake would worry my doctor. So what you got going on? What are you thinking?
So I'm going to stick with what Rain's saying, and it's not just because I'm a super Mavs fan, I said this at the beginning of the playoffs. For us to make it this far is, I know Boston had a historical season, but I can't imagine or think of a team that's been put together on the fly with bubblegum and duct tape. And to try to back out of the mistakes of Seth Curry and Grant Williams and make it all the way to the big old NBA finals and I mean, put our name on the map. I think next year and the year after and the year after, I think all of our major role players are signed for at least a minimum of 3 years. And most of them are 25 and younger.
Never has happened in my Mavs fan life, I feel like. Like Dirk and Jason Terry, maybe, and then they just kept making trades and doing stuff. But like guys that I would kind of consider core competency players, like, yeah, there's a lot of them. It's great.
And I know, we've been, the legend of Omax has kind of grown, but man, I've watched some of his G League highlights and some of the things that I know that he can do. He may step into this rotation next year as a 12 to 13 minute guy doing, I believe he can get to the point of next year already doing probably what Derrick Jones Jr. is doing now.
I'm curious. He's a big person. That's one thing that like really doesn't get
and long.
He's long. He's only 6'7", but he's got great big shoulders. He turns 22 March 3rd. So it's like I normally am the kind of guy that I'm like simmer down on the young player guy. If you are really into Omax, lean in.
He in essence will be our first round draft pick for this year because that's what it's like.
I like that take.
And I know in the G League they specifically wanted to work on having him bring the ball down the court, almost a la, which is funny. The dude said he didn't want LeBron James. The style that they're actually trying to use him offensively is to actually bring the ball down the court and come downhill. He's been super effective in that. His 3-point shot is amazing. I don't want to spend the time talking about Omax. I just want to say what we have going forward with our contracts that are under control, with our assets that are tradable. We want to get rid of Josh. If we want to get rid of Exum or Timmy. But we have options. We have so many options going forward, and I think we have the right people at the helm. Nico, for certain. Kid, for anyone that says we should get rid of Kid, and I heard the guy earlier, it's never going to happen, especially now. And he's have to do something right to get us here. I mean, he can't fart and fall over himself to get to the finals. So I am officially going to get off Kid's back and not overreact over all of the next bonehead decisions he will make in the offseason and over the next year. And just believe we have a good nucleus, and we'll be back in the thick of things in the next few years. So I'm excited.
Man, I appreciate your comments. Appreciate you hanging out with us and joining regularly. Hopefully you'll be hanging out with us a little bit in the off season.
I'll be there, man.
All right. Talk soon, man. Yeah. Coming up next, Jose, the man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, dude?
So I want to talk a little bit about the game because I was extremely frustrated, just watching the first quarter. The first quarter, I feel like we did like good enough until like the last 2 minutes.
Oh, so bad, man. They were just hanging around, and then turnovers and mistakes.
Yup, and the momentum it was just a complete avalanche from there. Everything just got sucked out. Like, granted, our offense was still like in the mud, but there was still some like sign of life. It felt like we had something to build on, and after that, it was just nothing but like 3, like the Celtics commentator, or I mean not commentator, but the PA guy. Like all you could hear him. It was like shit that made me want to mute the TV, but I was just like highly invested into the game at that point, where I was just like, I'm gonna ride this out. I mean, I did turn the game off by like the 6-minute mark in the fourth, because I was like, I'm not sticking around to watch the celebration.
You want to know something like you'll laugh. My wife kept that shit on throughout the ceremony. I'm here getting ready. She keeps the whole thing on. She's watching it. And I feel like one of those bum ass wide receivers after they lose to Patrick Mahomes is just standing there on the sideline like, I'm gonna fucking do something about the Mavericks. Like, I need to take this shit in and internalize the loss.
Man, call me a sore loser all you want, but I had to turn that shit. I immediately actually just turned it on to your broadcast. Like I was anticipating like your show to start because I was like, if anything, this is the only thing I'm gonna watch before I go to sleep tonight. But just to talk about the team, I got some flack for like my comments about Luka on Twitter. It's like it never ceases to amaze me. I could like specifically put like, hey, this tweet is not about blaming Luka for the entirety of the series. This tweet is just acknowledging like his flaws, and that's committing on defense, uh, keeping his conditioning up, like you're at the 106, 107 game mark of the season by now. Like, all the wear and tear is dragging you down. Like, of course, the injuries don't help. But if Luka is saying after the game, like, hey, the injuries be damned, I'm good enough to go. Like, hey, I'm gonna take Luka's word on it. Like, yeah, we probably don't want Luka, putting so much strain on himself to commit on defense. But the thing is, if he's good enough to go, he's good enough to go. I mean, look at KP. He was playing with, the tore muscle on his ankle, and he still played 16 minutes tonight. Like it's just little things like that. Like I'm just like I'm not gonna blame everything on Luka's injuries, but I do want some level of consistency when it comes to Luka's commitment to defense. And then also like I can't justify Kyrie's play in this series at all. Like Kyrie was a big disappointment. I mean, in game 3, he finally showed up, and then game 4, I mean, we didn't play enough. Like where it was like, oh, this is gonna be like the Kyrie breakout game beyond game 3. It was just like we ran them off the court, and we sent them to game 5, and like we need a starting caliber small forward. Like maybe PJ switches into small forward, and maybe we just get a upgraded power forward. I don't know how that happens, but hey, with Nico, I think I have a lot of optimism going on, and building in the offseason. It's just like we have Dwight on the bench, we have Markeith on the bench, we have THJ, we have AJ, who I don't know how he fits, but we have something there, but we also just have some players that hey, we might just need to move on from, and see what we could get, see how we could continue to build. Like I me personally, I want to be cautious on like, hey, we'll be back here next year. Like I do love the fact that we have a young core going into next season. But the thing is, like next season, you're never guaranteed to be here. I mean, look at Denver. Denver was facing Minnesota, and Minnesota beat them in 7.
Right.
The year before that, the Celtics were primed to be back in the finals. They lost to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Mavericks went to the finals in 2006, and 2007 was one of the best teams in the league and got beat in the first round. So you're never guaranteed to be here, but I am very optimistic in just like how we could build and what the future looks like. Give me a healthy Luka, give me a committed Luka, give me a Luka that's not whining. Give me a Kyrie that knows how to win in Boston. And give me a starting caliber small forward, power forward, whatever you want to, whatever position you think needs to be filled more. And let's see if we could be back here next year or a year from now. But that's it, Kirk.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you for hosting the show.
We'll talk soon. Have a good one.
Yes, sir.
All right, I got my man Sam. Oh, hey, I clicked the wrong button. Glenn, what you doing? You're eating some mixed nuts in the middle of the night. What's going on?
dark chocolate pepitas. But
Oh.
first, I want to say that even though we are number 2 in the Glenn Power rankings, we're number 1 in the hearts and minds of your listeners. So
Look, he clicked in before you. There is no official Glenn Power ranking yet. I'll determine one during the offseason.
No, that guy should be ahead of me in the power rankings. He knows a lot more about basketball than me, so I'm totally cool with that. So before I say what I want to say that I love this Mavericks team. They're my favorite Mavericks team. I'm going to fix that. Favorite Mavericks team in the history of the Mavericks? Well, since the chairman of the boards. I adored the chairman of the boards team. In 1988, I appreciate all the effort that this team put in. I loved this season. It was so fun to watch, and it was very fun to watch to do the after shows and the contributions that you and Josh made. I very much appreciate.
Thanks, buddy.
So I'm happy with the Mavericks getting this far. And then I got to say, I need you to talk me off the ledge here, because when I agree to change my avatar for a team, that's an implied agreement that they're going to give 150%.
And they did not, man. The juice was awful tonight. I just got to say that out loud, man. They came out. There was a great clip from one of the WFAA guys, the local ABC affiliate, that had them in pregame and the practice, and the energy just looked incredible. And they came out just looking like what's a politician? It's the dead cat bounce. They just were like nothing. They had nothing. It was awful.
On one play, I thought they looked like Joe Biden freezing up, and I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
No, but I know what you're talking about. Just a little bit of what the fuck? There's a lot of that. It was not great.
There was a rebound where I was like, Luka, you froze up like a deer in the headlights. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I saw Josh Green, 150% out there. The rest of the guys, it looked like they just didn't treat it like a final game of the finals. They're tired, I guess. I mean, I don't know what the excuse is for this.
Well, to me, we're so far into this show, I don't think anybody will really care. To me, what happened is they came out and they got out physicaled early.
Mm-hmm.
And there were probably 3 plays in a row I thought Luka got fouled bringing the ball up the court or driving.
Mm-hmm.
The refs didn't call it.
Yeah.
And Dallas did not adapt to the physicality. And then, so they're making it, they're hovering, they're hanging. All of a sudden, it's 15-16. Then all of a sudden, it's 28-18. That's what killed them for me. The Celtics heaved that first big haymaker in the first quarter, and Dallas never bounced back. That's what I saw.
But did you see what I saw was 50-50 balls all going to Boston?
I mean, Drew Holiday was just he was everywhere, man. And the long rebounds really do kind of feel like 50-50 balls. But there were times where it's just there was one play. Maxey was up at the top of the screen boxing out Al Horford, and the motherfucker doesn't even try to go for the ball because he's just so busy like shoving his forearms into Al Horford's chest. And Luka's like, get the ball. And because it was Maxey's rebound, it really was. It wasn't. And just the Celtics just beat the Mavericks in the margins. And one of the things I remember hearing about the 2022 Warriors-Celtics finals was that the Warriors beat the Celtics in the margins. And the Mavericks were not prepared for that this entire series. And that, maybe elements of game 3, definitely game 4. You would have hoped they did something different, but they just didn't.
Yeah, I thought they were going to come out tonight just diving for every loose ball and
they didn't.
Just throwing it, just saying, hey, I don't care if I never play again. I want to get this rebound, whatever it takes. And I just didn't see it. So, you know more about basketball than me. Actually, I was hoping you would tell me I was wrong. But I guess
no, because you watch it and you're just
again,
it's not a comparable thing. But I've been spending the last several weeks talking to 8-year-old, 7-year-old little boys that I coach, and it's only thing you tell them is the only thing within your control is your ability to play hard. Shots aren't always going to fall. You do everything right. Shot isn't going to fall. You might be able to play great defense, and somebody's going to score over you. But if you play hard, you have to trust the process that everything else will work out in the end. And one of the things that was very true to me tonight was the Mavericks as a team did not play hard enough. They did not. So
Yeah, that's the way I feel. All right. Well, thank you again for everything you've done this season. And hey, you get out here. Let's go see some Summer League games.
That's right.
Maybe we'll see something optimistic. I'm excited about. I thought Jelly Walker was the best thing about our Summer League team.
So much.
last year.
Like Summer League is such a wild time. It's like the worst music festival imaginable with NBA players. I love
Yes.
it. Can't recommend it enough. Glenn, thanks so much, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Kirk.
All right. Now we're going to Sam, since I can press buttons correctly. Sam, what's going on, man?
What's up, Kirk? How you doing, man?
Good. Your handsome face matches your baritone voice.
I appreciate it. I figured, last game of the year, I might as well pop my face on camera real quick.
So what you thinking?
So first, after that buzzer hit, I don't know why I watched the end. I was kind of like letting my frustration. I'm like, man, this sucks. But after a couple minutes, I said, you know what? The Mavericks need this. Like Luka especially needs this because obviously, we had Dirk. 2006 happened. 2006 was worse in my opinion because we were up 2-0 and we blew that. But just the fact, the way that we came out, the way that he came out, and I wouldn't say he was necessarily bad this series. I mean, he had good accounting numbers, but just everything else was just not great. Just with Luke, and of course, I'm not going to blame Luke because I don't think I'm going to blame Luke. I'm not blaming him.
Sure.
He was out here, but just everything else that goes around it. He had to have his, like you said, his Celtics moment when Celtics got to the finals and they were up 2-1, and then they let it go in Game 4, and then they got beat. But now he has his moments, and now it's either he's going to learn from it, and he's going to come back and just be a man on a mission, or he's content and he's going to be happy and he's going to go play for Slovenia in the Olympics, and then put more weight onto his body. I don't know what he's going to do. So I don't want to talk about the game no more. We got beat. Boston was better. It was fun to hype it for a couple hours. Mavs and 7. I was part of it too. I gotta wait a week to switch my profile picture back.
No shit, man. Like I was bullied into it by all, and I don't care. It's fine. But it is like someone's gonna need to remind me because I'll forget.
Yeah, I haven't changed my picture in like years at this point, so I was like, whatever. But I pretty much agree with what everybody else has been saying about like just the team outlook as a whole. I like PJ. It's gonna be nice to have him for a full off season, see what he can do and develop. Obviously, I think D-Live's going to be the starter next year, barring something crazy. You got Gafford coming off the bench, so our center rotation's fine. Luka and Kyrie, Kyrie's obviously, not on the right side of 30, but he's still going to be solid. You figure Luka, just being 25, he's going to get better. And I'm really interested to see what Nico does in the offseason because I feel like we got that mix. And I feel like just watching Boston the way they played, because, I mean, this whole postseason, they didn't really go deep in their bench. They were like 5-6 deep or 6-7 deep, and that was it. And that really helped them because they had top end talent. But you look at somebody like a team like Denver this year when they didn't have a Bruce Brown and they didn't have a Jeff Green coming off their bench, and that really hurt them, especially against Minnesota. Because I think they were better than Minnesota, but Minnesota was built to beat Denver. But
it's a series like so much about the playoffs that gets overlooked is like it's a series of matchups. I mean, I've long held this would get me murdered. I think if the Mavericks in 2011 had to play the Memphis Grizzlies of 2011, they would have lost.
That's for us that year.
The Grizzlies beat the shit out of the Mavericks. Now I could be wrong there, but that's just one of those things. Proud Vet saying Kuzma was right. Friend of the program, Proud Vet, comes in here a lot. I implore you to shut the fuck up. Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, if Kuzma was right, I mean, he said that they're not on a championship timeline and we got to the championship. Meanwhile, he can have fun having 15 wins in Washington, but that's the
right. Getting to draft a French guard with the first overall pick who has, I kid you not, like the worst athletic rating since Adam Morrison.
Yeah, whatever. Now, I will say this. It would have been nice to score like Kyle Kuzma on the team. I will say that. But, again, whatever. I have faith in Nico. I do think they do need a third scorer.
They need somebody who can dribble. Like, give me a third dribbler.
Exactly. I mean, Dante Exum, I don't mind keeping him coming off the bench next year. I don't know what they do about Tim, but he's expiring contract and whatever, he comes or he goes. I'm not cool. Whatever. I feel like they finally doing what we've been wanting them to do for 4 years.
Sure.
They're young. They got get players. That's what Miami's done. You just get players and make it work. And some of the players they develop really well. Some of them may not. Hell, next year maybe AJ Lawson has a big role. Who knows? You never know. So I'm not saying he's going to become like a 20-point per game scorer, but you never know. Omax, we'll see what he does in summer league because everything works out right. I will be in Vegas next month for summer league. So
hey, you're okay.
Yeah.
You need to send me a DM.
I will do that.
All right.
Birthday week, I will plan to be there. So I might check out a couple of summer league games.
You should, man. It's great. $50 or whatever the ticket is, whatever the face value ticket. It's like you can leave and come back. You can do whatever you want. I make a summer league pitch to every basketball fan every year. It's so much fun.
I mean, I wish I would have went last year when Victor was there, but whatever. Just got to. Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Sam.
I have faith in this team, man. Like I said, this sky's the limit. Like everybody's saying, you're not guaranteed to be back, so I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna be mad for a night and then be like, oh well, it is what it is. Boston was better, so yeah, we'll just see what happens, and hopefully, we can develop and come back next year.
Talk soon, buddy.
Have a good one, man.
All right. Brandon's coming up next. Then we got Sean and Brian. We're going to close it out. What's going on? Oh, shoot. I clicked Sean first. Sean, you there? I'm so bad at this, Brandon. This is why I shouldn't run my own show. Sean, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Kirk?
Welcome, welcome. What you thinking?
Oh, I would love to know your thoughts on Luka because I talked to you last week, my first time calling last week after taking my son to the game and game 3. And I'm just trying to figure out what to make of this because I think Luka in the first half, it was close. We were right there. We're just kind of rocking with them, 8, 9, 10 points. And he's just jacking threes left and right. He was at one point 0 for his last 15, going back to the previous game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still jacking threes. And I'm telling my son, we're in an Irish bar in Chicago. That's around summer vacation. We're in an Irish bar, and everyone's really nice to us. And they're just good sports. But I'm telling my son, like, man, this guy's mentally weak. Like Luka, again, we would not be here without Luka. And Kyrie is mentally weak in terms of the Boston curse thing he's got, but Luka is the key to this whole thing. And I'm just watching him play the first half. And it's like I said last week to you, Kirk. The guy, he goes out, has a horrible game like game 3, just shits the bed, acts like a petulant child, then comes back on Friday, plays balls out, doesn't complain, doesn't do anything. He just plays the game, mature, composure, everything. And then the next game, he's back to his old self. And I would say today
he didn't do any complaining.
He didn't do any complaining. He's been complaining the rest that much. But man, what worked Friday, Kirk? He was going to the hoop. They cannot stop him going to the hoop.
They did a much better job.
He was jacking up threes.
They did a much better job sending a second guy at him, though.
That's Luka. And they had KP on him, and he was still trying to go for a quote unquote kill shot on KP.
I didn't like. There was a 3 he took at the top from the top of the screens, basically like the left wing. That I didn't like that one, but I felt the Celtics did a pretty good job of walling off him taking like a 4-foot floater and instead forcing him into a bit of like a turnaround like shot, and he didn't make enough. And then it sort of devolved because nobody else was making anything either except for Josh Green.
Josh Green, yeah. So I've got 2. So those have been 2 points. One was the game was lost at the end of the first quarter when Luka literally was just playing dumbass basketball, doing either 3 points or right inside the 3-point line jumpers, and then turning the ball over to go on that 9-0 to help Boston go on that 9-0 run to end the first. And then PJ Washington, I mean, we've talked about it. Every Mavs fan that's been actually watching the games, they know this guy cannot dribble worth shit. And why kids stuck with him so long while Josh Green is literally lighting their asses up and providing energy and spark, playing good defense. Yeah, he's shorter than Tatum. Tatum will score over him every time, but at least Josh is giving you something on the other end, while PJ is giving you nothing. I'm not an anti-Luka fan. I'm not, but like at the end of the day, you want to be the hero. You want to be the all NBA player. You want to have all the accolades. You got to be a true leader. And today I just saw more of the immature Luka just jacking up dumbass shit and taking the easy way out versus trying to go to the paint and do what worked so well Friday and get this team another win. Because I guarantee you, this comes back to Dallas. Everyone knew. That's why all Mavs Twitter was trending
Sure.
number one in the country. If we get back to Dallas for a game 6, Mavs in 7, for sure. Everyone knew it.
I'm
And
not.
Luka knew the assignment, and he fucking did what Luka fucking does. He just
I
sometimes he
really
just,
don't
he just
think.
has shit games.
I don't think Luka shit the bed. I think he wasn't good. And to me, a Luka true shitting the bed game is a completely different kind of meltdown. You know, like it was really frustrating watching Jason Tatum finally make his drives after like, what was it, 3 straight games of just like throwing up bullshit. And so it's like there's all these little margin thoughts. And like, if you're very frustrated with Luka, I do understand it because he was not good enough. And that's sort of where I will leave it. So
I just don't. I honestly just you would think after 2022, the last season not making the play-in, he would learn his lesson. And I told you last week after Game 3 and all the money I spent, how frustrated Mavs fan land was. It's like I told you, I want this team to get swept. And Friday night was awesome. I'm happy for the team, but I just think this kid, he needs to eat humble ass pie because he just thinks he can just shit all over the place, have a horrible game, be a petulant little child, act like he's above the game. He's not above the game. He's got to play the game. No matter who you are, Jordan or anyone below that, this game is simple, and he does not seem to understand that. He just seems to think, I will turn it on when I want to, and the game's not like that. No one can just turn it on and just win a game by themselves. It's never happened. Like game after game in the finals, he just can't.
See, I've seen a lot.
I love this guy, but man, he just can't keep acting like this.
Well, I think there are elements of like getting, you know, maybe less this game and more this series where it's, do the Mavericks need to get down 0-3? Does Luka need to foul out? That's the stuff.
We wouldn't be down 0-3 if not for
Game 3
and
I that sort of stuff. That stuff sort of lands with me a little more than the other stuff, but I you know, we'll see what he does. It's tough because he's by and large answered the bell. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I do and I don't because honestly, we got to hold the guy accountable.
Sure,
Game 3 should have been a win. Everyone knows it. And then today, like, where was the same fire, the same?
But I'm telling you, energy? The Celtics. I'm telling you, like, quite literally, just from watching the game, the Celtics guarded him a hell of a lot better. Like he was seeing a second guy earlier
in the first half.
Sure, but you know, Luka threes are kind of part of the game. If 2 of them go down, do you feel differently? Yeah. You know, like the one that killed me was the air ball from like 35 feet.
The one that killed me was in the mid to late third quarter. We cut it down to 17. We were getting some stops. We cut it down from 26 points down to 17. And then we get a great turnover, a steal, I think. And then he just jacks up a stupid 3. And I'm in this this Irish pub, and everyone just
there's nothing worse than being in public when your favorite player or like your team's best player is dying on the vine. I hate that.
Oh yeah, and I yelled, "Not another effing 3, Luka!" And then everyone would just start laughing, and everyone's like, "Your son is right there." I'm like, "Don't judge me as a parent right now. I'm not a parent. I'm a fan."
That I feel. I do.
It's like, Jesus. I mean, Luka stopped shooting through so a little bit, then he jacked that one up, and that was the game. I mean, to me, that was the game. We had stopped him, I think, 3 times during the third quarter. We had cut it down to 17, and we lived off going to the cup. And all of a sudden, he just decides again, we take another stupid ass, weak ass step back 3. He was over. I think I texted my buddies. It was dating back to the last game. He went 0-8, and I think he was 0-6 in that game at that point. I mean, Kirk, that's 0-14. At some point, you know what works. You're like 8 for 12 inside the 3-point line. Just take it. take a jump shot inside the 3-point line and takes another stupid three. It frustrates me. And then why kid is keeping PJ in the game and running plays for PJ. The guy, I mean, everyone knows it. Like, since we came to this team, we can watch this guy. He can't dribble worth shit. He's a 6'8".
He's gonna go to God camp this summer.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what I told my son. Like, I was cursing PJ left and right. And I just said, look, watch this guy with a full season with a winning team. He's gonna be really good. So I have a lot of promise for him. But I'm like, this is not the game to run the offense through PJ here and there. Like, he can't do it. And after 3-4 straight turnovers, kid finally was like, okay, let me just put in Josh Green. And what does Josh Green do? So he gets another chance, hits another three, All of a sudden, he's 5 for 5. I'm like, my God, kid, like, what are you doing? What's Luka? What's kid doing? Like, seriously, this game is not that hard. It's not that hard.
Sean, I'm sorry you had to go to game. That you know what? But these are real bonding experiences with your kid. You're a good dad. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. You got anything else?
Next year. That's what I told my son.
Next year.
At least it's not the Cowboys. The Mavs have a better shot than winning.
That's true, man.
Than the Cowboys do.
All right, we'll talk soon. Be good.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Mm-hmm. All right, coming up next, Brandon, and then I'm going to skip ahead to Jason Gallagher, who's staying up very late for us. Brandon, what's up, man?
Kirk, that's the new motto next year. I need a shirt.
Hey, you know what? Basketball season starts in 4 months.
Yeah, every year is next year with the Mavs. But Kirk, I mean, if you go back to the 2011 season and fast forward all the way to, when they picked up Luka, the Mavs roster was a wreck. Think about it. There were a bunch of old guys rotating, starting guards, and they couldn't really get talent. Everybody they were signing were either there off of a trade, and they were sitting out the rest of their contracts, or free agents, or kind of like Maxey or draft picks. Dorian and Smith Jr. Fast forward to the Luka regime, and things are starting to gel. And not only that, but you fast forward to the Nico regime, where there's actually, purpose. There's people being positioned as opposed to people just being put there based off talent. So, I mean, no longer are the Mavs trying to hit the home run. Because think about this. After the Mavs won in 2011, they had a bunch of big names, but they were all old. And to me, I feel like that's what Cuban wanted. He wanted a bunch of names that stood out and a bunch of people that could, probably draw in a crowd.
Well, they had made so many future leveraging plays. They brought in Sean Marion as part of this crazy-ass 4-team trade in 2008. They brought in Jason Kidd using, like, Keith Van Horn's retired dead body. They like like the Peja Stojakovic joined the Mavericks, and I think they closed a loophole after that offseason after Peja. There was a lot of things that came together to work for that team, but then of course Cuban didn't run it back. But this is a young team. I think if you are bullish on them, I think there's reasons to be bullish. I think if you think that this team needs to continue to be built upon, I think the Mavericks would agree with you.
And they do need to be built upon. And I feel like they should run it back because they need an identity. I don't think they really know what to do with PJ. They ran the 3-and-D offense so long. Think about Wes, Dorian Smith, and Bullock. They've ran that same play with those people over and over again. It's repetitive. You know what to get. They're going to stick him in the corner and have him shoot threes. They need to know what else he can do. They need to know what Exum could do. They need to know what these role players can do.
Sure.
And I would say that the thing that they really need to focus on is finding a third ball handler. And also, kind of finding the third, that backup big if they're going to stick Lively right there, because they continue to play Gafford and Lively as a center, being that they get into foul trouble a lot. They, I would recommend, maybe having a stretch forward somebody like that. But they have talent, but they don't really have identity. They went out there this season. To me, they won based on chemistry and will,
Well, I think they molded an identity based off of defense, and then I think the Celtics essentially said, "Fuck your defense. We're going to bomb from 3."
and the Celtics were a lot more talented and a lot more physical to me than Dallas, and that kind of left opportunities. Think about this: when the Bulls went and got Rodman, they filled that gap, and I feel like Dallas needs to find some way to definitely fill that third ball handler gap, because that's a lot that they're asking out of Kyrie and Luka, to put in so much energy, just pushing the ball in, having to find a way to score, but then also not really having a I don't know, that third score is going to be really important, because to me, and I could be wrong, I feel like their option was PJ as the third scorer, and I wouldn't feel confident going into a full season with him being my third option.
Yep, I'd agree with that. Thanks so much for hanging out, man. What else you got for us? Anything?
That's it, Kirk, man. I hope you enjoy yourself at Summer League.
Well, I mean, we'll talk soon. Josh and I'll probably be coming back as soon as a little later in the week doing some series like season reviews. And, I'll figure out how many times I can do these live shows. Last summer, I did a whole bunch during the summer, like on Fridays, but I got a boss this year that I'm pretty sure follows me on YouTube. So I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, that's so good.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Kirk.
All right, coming up next, I'm going to let him jump the line. I hope Krishna and Brian forgive me, but Jason Gallagher, Mavs fan, content creator, producer of some of your favorite podcasts. Jason, what's going on, man?
What's up, buddy?
I know you never see me when you come to town.
I know. We're doing this now? You sound like my mom, honestly. She says this.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Dude, first off, man, I hope people give you your flowers for doing this. It's so much fun. As a fan,
it's a lot better than like being on the Twitter. I'm looking at it, everybody's just fucking screaming at each other, and I'm just like,
if you don't like screaming, you're not gonna like what I have to say first.
Oh, okay.
What I have to say first is this: look, fans can absorb things however they want.
That's right.
Man, if your takeaway that from this whole season is that you're just like frustrated with Luka, I don't know, man. I don't know. You got to like stop watching First Take. You got to turn it off, because the Mavericks were not down 0-3 because of Luka Doncic. Okay, they're in the NBA Finals because of Luka Doncic, in large part, and other teammates as well. Jason Kidd included, Nico Harrison. It takes a lot of people, but Luka Doncic is the main reason why they're there. Luka Doncic didn't play that dissimilar to how he's been playing in games 1 and 2. He had a bad game 3, great game 4, looked completely gassed in game 5. I don't know what to say.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think game 3 is a turning point?
For him to change?
Yeah. Because Windhorst went on the Hoop Collective podcast, and Windhorst was the one who lit him on fire, and a lot of Mavs fans were bothered by it.
Long talk. Brian and I had a long talk.
So, but Windhorst said that him and other people were like, this. Everything we've been told is that he's been like this since he was like 13 years old.
Yeah, I don't.
And so it's like he's 25. Like,
I don't know, but I genuinely think that. Getting to know sort of like the players' perspectives and all this is like, how do you tell a player to stop being what has made them who they are, competitive and whatnot? Now, obviously, I'm with you that certain things can get better. There's literally no doubt about it. I'm completely with you.
So like the reason I bring this up, game 3, quarter 1, Josh Bo's there in the arena. I made Josh go to a finals game. He said he's never seen anything like when Luka fell to the ground after a non-call that wasn't a foul, where he sat there and argued with the referee and gave up a Hauser 3. And the crowd is imploring him to shut the fuck up. His teammates are imploring him to shut the fuck up, and he just won't do it. And so like that sort of stuff, like there's just
right. But what I would say to you is, and Josh, is this. Well, there's two things. One, a similar thing happened. And I want to say game 4 of the Oklahoma City series. He played one of his worst games, 10-2. And there was a bit of an intervention, and he came out in game 5 and dominated. All I would say is this. I just kind of can't believe that in a playoff run like this, that is what people are talking about, because bad games will happen to literally every single player. And this is Luka's version of a bad game. When he lets his emotions take over himself. If you've seen Inside Out 2, it's literally the plot. But what I'm saying is, like, they were down 0-2. He was the only player who showed up on either end in games 1 and 2. The idea that no, Kirk, who?
I get it.
No, who? So when a guy has no help on offense and defense in games 1 and 2,
yeah,
you don't think that like permeates in other ways? Like, I want him to improve. I just can't believe people are looking at this season as a whole.
Oh no, not the whole. It's just if you're
damn,
microanalyzing
X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, dude, you know what Luka needs to do? Be Luka, come back, be Luka. Hopefully mature. Hopefully work on the defense this summer. I don't know if you've ever seen the Drew Holiday work-out videos where he works.
Oh my God, it's like watching a shark eat fish.
Let's let Luka work on that. But I just the amount of joyous moments we've had as Mavs fans, and to point to Game 3 or to point to this or that, I'm just sort of like, I don't know, man. I think the Mavs were down 0-3 because Kyrie Irving can't play in Boston. I think the Mavs were down 0-3 because the role players don't like to play in Boston. I think the Mavs were down 0-3 because Boston was clearly better.
Oh, yeah.
Probably overwhelmed a guy. And, it's just like when you're down 0-3, it offers a lot of time and perspective to brace yourself for a loss. And I kind of was like watching, and I wasn't like that terribly upset. It was just sort of like, hell of a season. There's no fucking way. There's no way anyone looks at that roster, whether you're an expert, anyone, and saying that team is going far. And the fact that they did it and they built this team in less than 14 months, that is literally unheard of. It's literally unheard of.
Yes. I mean, I will say what the post-trade line roster building told me is that every single one of my and Josh Bowe's criticisms from 2020 to 2023 was unbelievably valid, and everybody that yelled and screamed at me is wrong. And yeah, I mean, because but
it is valid. All I'm saying is that the unheard ofness is
the
fact that it was stitched together so quickly. I mean, this team hasn't had a training camp.
No,
that's unbelievable.
No, and
there's a lot of stuff to be optimistic about. The fact that we now know that, okay, Jaden Hardy really got thrown into the fucking fire in the playoffs, and we know who we got now. And it is, I'm excited.
I'm very much looking forward to the Josh Green, Jaden Hardy wars of the offseason.
That's going to be a good
where people are like, that Jaden Hardy. And I'm like,
yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm extremely happy about this season. And the way that it.
Oh, me too.
It wasn't thrilling, but Boston was that team. They were who we thought they were. And
sure.
They played like it, and it made, any loss like that really shows your holes. And it's like, shows your holes. What do you think? What do you think of that one?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good line, right?
I do. Sorry. I occasionally see a comment in the chat where it's like somebody just going off their rocker, and it's like just having such a firm take, et cetera, et cetera. It's
you
like,
seem tired. You seem worn out.
Oh my God, man. Are you kidding me? Like the baby needs ear tubes. He has had six ear infections in 7 months. So I keep going through it. And it's like, my wife and I are like, and real quick, I called Jason offline about an opportunity I got a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just like, why do I keep doing this? It's like you reach that point at this point in the season, like every couple of weeks, but we got so much, thank God, Adrian Wojnarowski and his because there's a lot of stuff you can talk about, like with free agency, like starting today. And I'm really kind of glad that actually hasn't taken over. I was very worried about that. The offseason starts soon. The Mavericks have
notifications on.
The Mavericks have the 58th pick in the draft. They also, once they get out from underneath this Kristaps Porzingis obligation, I think they free up some things. So, There's people in the chat of like watch comments like, oh, the time is now. And it's like, okay, yeah, the time is now. But like, I'm also remembering like, what was it? 4 months ago? No, not 4 months ago, like 12 months ago, where it's like, oh my God, the Mavericks drafted a rookie center. Are they stupid?
Yeah. And
like that rookie center has turned out to be like, he's the second best player in this draft. Like
literally. I mean, literally it's it's weird how the NBA
You're right.
It's sort of like modernized in a way that like runs can really happen. Like you could be down 20 and it's like not safe.
Mhm.
That's how it feels with this roster building stuff now. It's like you could just zip, and now you got a contender on your hands, and it's pretty remarkable. I do hope that all of the team works on the things they need to work on, because
they also need to hire a free throw shooting coach.
They,
for my own edification.
That was probably the worst part of the night.
That shit hurts. All right, I'm going to show you something.
Because I'm a good free throw shooter, by the way.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
So that my wife got me a Christmas ornament, and
are you number 35?
Back in the day,
way
back in the day, and then she's got 41 is my baby Grant, and then she's got 77 is Parker. So
that's lovely.
That was a great Father's Day gift. It's a Christmas ornament. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So the last thing I want to say is that this was really the year, because I'd been working in media for a very long time, and I'm going to be super, super honest and vulnerable here. Kirk, stop reading the comments. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, this was the first year where I kind of let go of just being like a media member. You know, when you're trying to make it and you're like, I've got to be objective. I've got to do this. Back when I was a writer, obviously I had to present myself that way. And then as you're constantly trying to prove yourself, it's like, oh, I've got to appear this way online or whatever. This was like the first year where I just really, really let go. I know I wrote Hallelujah, but like really let go. And was like, I don't care. This is what I am. And if people who work with me don't like it, it is what it is. And between doing these like live streams, you doing this, some of the Mavs fans I've met online and, you know, post game and all that other stuff.
Go to bars where you don't invite me. Granted, some of the people there might want to fight me, so that's part of what you invite me.
Point being, Kirk, is that it's been really fun.
It has been
really fun being a Mavs fan this year. And this team and this community has been really fun. And I hope you guys all stay positive, because we were better than every other NBA team this year except for one. And don't let any Denver fans tell you otherwise, because if they were better, they would be there. If the end of story. Bye. That's
right, man. That's exactly right. Thanks so much for hanging out, man. We'll talk soon. All right.
Cheers. Thanks for what you do.
Cheers. So there's a quick question. I'm going to bring on Krishna and then Brian. But there's a good question in the chat that I want to address. Brian Feather says, "Did you really shit on the Lively pick?" I don't know if it's worth going back and listening to those series of pods, but I do remember being like, "What? We drafted a center? Fuck!" Because rookie big men are not good historically. They're just not good. Like, that's a history thing. It's hard. It's hard to be good. Anyway. All right, Krishna, what's going on?
Kirk, how are you?
Little I'm going to suffer the rest of the week. What's going on?
I'm doing good. It's so crazy. Like, I don't know. It's weird because obviously 22 was probably the last time a season didn't even come close to going this long. And it didn't even come close to this, right? It would have been over 3 weeks ago, right, where Minnesota's ended.
Yeah.
That felt like nothing against Minnesota. You know, I do somewhat.
Sure, but it does feel like it was a long time ago.
Yeah, and then we felt so good in some ways, and obviously that's its own cup of whatever, its own mess. And I think, you know, everyone, I forget, like, people always say it, right? Like, at the end of every season of every sport, you know, there's always 31 teams that hate themselves because they don't win. You know, maybe some more than others because of, you know, how early it ends or how late it ends. And so, you know, that's just always how it's going to be. And it sucks. And I don't think it's wrong for fans to feel one way or another. But I think, you know, for me personally, like, I can't bring myself to like be that mad at this anymore, because when you go through seasons that are complete slogs, like actually genuinely horrible, and, you know, I try to follow as many teams as I can. I follow so many different sports, and you follow some situations that are genuinely just terrible. Like, not just losing, but like if you follow European soccer, like, there are teams that just lose their team. Like they just don't exist anymore. And like that's kind of unimaginable in some ways in American sports, but I mean, recently that happened. Like in the NHL, the Phoenix Coyotes, they just disappeared. They got relocated.
Right.
And, you know, it was a disaster of an organization. And that was less of an indictment on the fans and more of, you know, ownership. And you know, that just happens out of nowhere. And I'm not saying this to say, oh, everyone needs to be thankful. No, not at all. I think that would be presumptuous of me to like even think like that. But it's just that this is frustrating. And I'm as frustrated as anyone because, you know, you get this far, you want to win. I don't think any fan gets here and says like, oh, you know, I'm happy to be here. Like, that's BS, man. No one feels like that. It's like a mixture of all kinds of feelings, you know, kind of like, yeah, Seattle, exactly. How could I forget the Sonics, right? But I guess I just used Phoenix because that was the first thing that came to mind for me. But or OKC beforehand, right? Well, I guess OKC is Seattle. What am I saying? But all that to say, you know, for as frustrated as I am with players who, you know, were good in some series and good not, I felt like every single player had something that they did this season. It's easy to forget that. And, you know, I get it. You know, there's a lot of talk of like trade this guy, you know, trade that guy. And I get it. That's just normal. You know, it's the offseason, you move on. But I think in some ways this season just made me like really reflective of how crazy this has been in a way. What do I want them to do? Oh, they were talking to each other in the chat. I'm so sorry. I got so lost like you. I read something in the chat. And I thought
See? That's why you can't look at it.
I generally don't, but it just, I thought someone said my name and I was dumb. But no, like I think it was frustrating, right? You don't ever want to lose a game like this. I'm sure Timberwolves fans and like Phoenix fans from 22, I'm sure they felt like this, if not worse in some ways. But I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily know how and where this team goes, but I think there are so many exciting things that are like crazy to even just think about. Like, you know, you mentioned the draft. I think about even on draft night, like how many people even think about Cam Whitmore? Like Cam Whitmore was dropping, and so many people I remember on Twitter that night were like, oh my God, the Mavericks are not going to pick Cam Whitmore. It's going to be a disaster of a draft. And, you know, I was pretty high on Derek Lively, and part of that was just I had some kind of irrational confidence that I thought, I don't know, there's like something. There was nothing supporting that realistically. I just like it was something stupid in my brain. Like, I don't know, I feel good. And I'm not even a gloat. It's just like I don't know. I'm just happy for this guy. And it sucks. It sucks for everyone. It's just kind of that feeling. And I forget who was talking about it, but it also sucks because, like, you know, in some ways having this run was good because I'm sure for someone like him to like go through what he's gone through this season, I'm sure it kind of kept his mind off it. I hope, you know, he's got that kind of support that it's not like not feeling like it weighs too much on him. And hopefully, you know, the team supports him, but also all the fans, right? Like, I think it's just weird. It's just weird. It's just frustrating, but I do have excitement. You know, I don't necessarily have expectations in terms of like, we need to be right back here. We need to be winning the finals because it hasn't happened. Like what is it now? 6 teams, 6 years in a row since what? 2018.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Not even forget teams winning the finals twice in a row. No team has made the finals 2 years in a row since 2018. So I'm not saying it can't happen, of course. I'm just saying it's going to be really difficult. But, you know, my hope and, you know, and you and Jason were talking about it, I'm kind of in between you guys both, right? I do think in some ways Luka is this successful and because he has such a my way or the highway attitude and it's just kind of frustrating. But I also agree with you that, like, yeah, he does need to like learn, right? But I think I've got maybe also an irrational confidence that he's such a psycho and such a maniac that like he took losing 22 pretty hardly, and he took pretty badly and took losing last year pretty awfully. And I don't think, you know, we always like there's always the dumb narratives and the media, like I'll be honest, national media narratives I could give two craps about. in all honesty, because they don't matter, because they don't care enough. They're never going to cover enough. Like you, Nick Angstead, all the Brad Townsend, all the, local coverage, even like slightly, all these people who, you guys watch the games every single day and you cover the team so closely. There's obviously going to be a level of detail and attention that national media is just never going to get, because, it's like the student who the entire semester studies versus the guy who like spends 1 week covering the team, like covering the material right before the exam.
Sure.
There's a huge difference in it. Maybe you kind of understand what it is, but you don't. And so, all I really want to say ultimately is there's still excitement. I'm excited.
I am excited too. I'm also like, my eyes just hurt. You're not
No,
doing
no,
anything
no.
wrong. I'm like, I
Don't
feel
worry.
like ass.
Don't worry. I feel like ass too. I hate losing anyway. Like I follow so many sports. I just get used to it all the time. Like I've got another team that's probably going to go to a final and probably get walloped because that's their history. And, the Rangers are kind of bum asses now. It just happens. And then I think it's weird. I don't have anything analytical to say because this is just not, like, for me at least, that kind of moment. And I think it's okay for everyone to feel how they feel. And hopefully we all just get excited again for the draft and whatever that holds in the summer league. And then
I don't want to draft. Are you fucking kidding me? If I have to care about the 58th pick in the draft, then I've lost the thread. Christian, I somehow have 4 more people to get through. You're the best, man.
Worries. Take care, Kirk.
Talk soon. All right, coming up next, Boots on the Ground correspondent Brian Roby. What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you?
I am sucking right now. I am dying I'm withering on the vine. What's going on?
Yeah, I feel you. I'm super tired too. But I don't know, man. I'm just like all the people, I feel like Jason said it best. All the people who are dooming about like a single game performance in any of this. Honestly, I don't think there's any one thing like a super negative to really take out of this final series going forward, other than Kyrie not being able to get his game off at all in Boston was super troubling. But like aside from that, we've had a hell of a playoff run. I've been on record saying once we beat the Clippers, we won a playoff series. Everything after that was gravy, and we beat 3 50-plus win teams. We beat 2 of the top 3 seeds in the West. The only reason we didn't beat third one is because Denver lost to the Timberwolves, so they couldn't get the playoffs. Now we did everything we needed to do to establish ourselves as one of the best, if not the best team, like in the West, like going into the next year. We've established ourselves as one of the best teams in the league. Luka has established himself as like firmly in contention for best in the world and like up there in that top tier. Like when he's really on, he learned some hard lessons that he needed to in this final series. We're seeing just how consistently, even when Tatum, who again clearly not as good a player as him, even when he wasn't able to get his shots to fall, even when he wasn't able to really get his game off, and like his shot selection was failing him at times, he still found other ways to really be impactful, like whether it be through defense, whether it be through making simple reads, passing through offense. He found other ways to really just like affect winning and impact winning. And I'm really tough on like the team as a whole for the first 2 games because Luka was out there with no help. But game 2 was winnable. Game 3 was winnable. I honestly feel like I don't feel as bad as a lot of other Mavs fans just because once they couldn't win that game 2 where Boston was shooting that poorly, I just kind of like dissociated. I was like, yeah, this we're gonna lose this. So it's just a matter of in how many games, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't hit too hard by like the loss tonight. I did the bit. I was watching Game of Thrones the entire game because I was like, all right, it worked game 4. So why not try it again? So I'll rewatch the game back later. But
the effort will vex you. A lot of folks walk away when you're looking at elements of the effort. Things came apart at the wrong times. There were lapses in this game. I mean, there was one Drew Holiday 3 where Maxi Kleber is like doubling down on KP with Luka behind him, and you'll see it, and you're like, Maxi, what the fuck are you doing? And it was like, and again, not to pile on Maxi, but it's like when Maxi is bad, he's awful. And then it's just like you can't help but wonder where would the Mavericks be without the Josh Green threes. And so it's just the Celtics were better. The Mavericks made way too many mistakes. And here we are.
Yeah, and it's why I am still so excited about like the team going forward. I am a person who like gets pretty excited for the draft, and I've completely forgotten that we had the 58th pick. I don't think we're going to do necessarily anything with that. We might use that and Tim's contract or something like that to move up. But I am excited for Nico to try and trade up and get into like the 40s, the 30s, grab a player in the second round that could help like the back end of our rotation or be like a developmental piece. Because there are some guys, they're going to be like some wings that can score, some wings that can shoot, that'll really be able to help out the back end of our rotation where we really need help with scoring punch off the bench.
I think they'll get rid of it and they'll try to sign, they'll try to sign more back end guys that just off of like redemption arc kind of guys.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have to hit free agency too to shore up the rotation. But I do think that Nico being as good as he is at the draft and us actually having a pick, no matter how low it is, I do think they're gonna end up drafting someone on draft day. It's a matter of when and who, but I'm gonna trust them to look into that, and I'm excited to start just like going through more draft profile stuff. Like I've already been doing it for a week now, but start going through more, I mean, it wasn't even like the Mavs are out, so let me just focus on this. I just genuinely like to do it.
Sure.
But
no, it is fun. Draft season is fun.
Yeah, it's so much that it was fun just to have some pure hopium, right?
Yeah.
So I was huffing that for like a week or so. That's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to digging into all that. Then free agency starts midnight now. So they're already they haven't already hammered out that deal with Derrick Jones Jr.
I mean, I think they have to move on from Tim before they can do anything. I like legally under the cap. I don't think they can do anything. So.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure they've already talked to Derrick about a deal though. Yeah,
I think there was something on ESPN today that was like the market rate for Derrick Jones Jr. was 2 years, $22 million a season. Like there was some wild shit on ESPN today, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But I don't want to talk about that right now. I'm too tired.
Yeah, we'll say that for another time. Tim gone though. Maxey might be gone too. There may be a Jeremy Grant.
Maxey and Tim can go work on the low post.
Yes. Hey, Maxey, thank you for your service, brother. You were awesome in this playoff run before you got hurt. We love you. Hope you appreciate the money. You're gone. Tim.
What?
Adios.
Grant Williams is in the Celtics locker room celebrating.
Well, yeah, he was going to do that with whichever team won
tonight.
You come on. You knew he was going to do that with whichever team won tonight, though. When he showed up to the game, you knew, okay, he's going in whatever locker room wins. Which, I mean, it's kind of fair. Both teams traded him and then went to the finals.
Yeah, they traded him. They should make. Come on. All right, I can't do this. Brian, we'll talk soon, man.
All right, man. Peace.
All right, coming up next is John. John, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, Kirk.
Welcome. What's going on?
So, saw the game this morning because this is Hong Kong time. And, the game reminds me of one of Carlisle's favorite phrases, disposition. The Mavs just didn't come out with the best of dispositions because they were just out hustled, especially on the offensive rebounds.
Yes.
But, overall, this season has delivered a lot of good memories. I mean, if you look at the past decade or so, the Mavs made the finals 3 times in 18 years?
Yes.
And not a lot of Western Conference teams can say that.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe
period.
San Antonio, Golden State, and then the Lakers. So, I mean, they won 5 series over the past 3 years. And that's just great for the fan base.
Yep. Obviously, I'm a big fan of it.
Right. I mean, today there was just an air of inevitability about this game because the Celtics are going to come out and try and close the Mavs out, which they did. But
yes,
in the bigger picture, the Mavs are doing well.
I'm very pleased with where the team is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking about them in the middle of the night.
Sure, I can imagine. It's 1 o'clock over there?
Yeah, almost one. I'm real. This is all caught up with me in a hurry. I apparently also need to train better in the off season in order to be able to withstand a 100 game season.
Right, Kirk, I've been following this show of yours since I believe the KP trade about 2.5 years ago.
Hey,
so making my debut on your show is a lot of excitement.
I'm really glad you waited this long to hang out with us. I know it's not easy just sitting there in the middle, while on the queue. I try to get to everybody. I'm really grateful you joined.
It's all right. I bet you didn't know you have fans in China or Hong Kong, right?
So you are the first Hong Kong based fan. We've had fans from Brazil, from Italy, from obviously Slovenia, a couple of France and Germany. We had on Australia, New Zealand, and India earlier in the show. So I am always just delighted. Nothing makes me happier because I said earlier in the show, when the Mavs won the title in 2011, I kind of celebrated by myself because I wasn't living in Texas and I didn't know anybody that really liked basketball. So this is just a great joy to me to be able to celebrate with other fans or commiserate like tonight.
Right. When the Mavs won in 2011, I was in high school, and I believe I skipped a day of classes just to catch games 1 to
That's
6.
amazing. That's pretty good.
I didn't have to do that, but what a season! Who would have envisaged making it to the
Not me,
finals?
man. Not me at all. I'm too much of a grump to be positive on the team, but I did have a great time this year. I'll tell you that much.
For sure. We don't know when the next time they're going to be in the finals. The West is going to be packed, and even just within the division, right? The Grizzlies are coming back, the Pelicans with Zion. So we can't take it for granted. So just it's been a good journey this season, and we should cherish the memories for sure.
That's the right attitude, John. Thanks so much for hanging out. Hope you come back.
All right. See you next season, Kirk.
All right. Well, and just remember, guys, we do a fair amount of off-season pods, though they're probably not near as exciting as any of the game-to-game stuff. Tyler, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up, man? I was at the AAC watch party tonight, and let me tell you, yeah, turned into a soul snatching pretty quick there.
Yeah.
But had to get out of the apartment and go watch. So. I got nothing negative to say, though. First and foremost, appreciate you and Josh and everybody who you have on doing these after the game. It's always good to get to listen, whether it's live or replay or next day while I'm sitting in the office. So really appreciate you guys for doing that. It's great content for all of us, and we really appreciate it. And then with the Mavs, like. It's not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden change of direction, and that's what tonight felt like. So for all of it to come crashing down at once is obviously tough, but so much good stuff came out of this year with Luka and Kyrie developing, and then there's Derek Lively, who went from potentially a G League guy to someone who is now universally viewed as the third or fourth most impactful or best Maverick, let alone this season, but moving forward. So I'm so excited for what the future might hold. And for them to get to this stage, it was unexpected. And I think that's what made it so sweet, is that you could have told us in February that we'd be in the NBA finals and be like, no freaking way. So
yeah.
The fact that they got there, just incredible. And it's a good time to be a Mavs fan. So I'll go to for all his falls and all, which have all been, of course, widely documented. I'll go to battle with Luka 7 days out of the week, 365 out of the year. That dude's a killer, and I have no doubt that he'll come back better next year. And I cannot wait to see it.
Yep. All right, Tyler. Thanks for joining.
Appreciate you, dude.
All right. Appreciate you as well. Bishop in the comments says, I kind of hope that Luka skips the Olympics to lock in with a dietitian and a conditioning coach this offseason. I think your best bet is to hope that Luka and the Slovenian team doesn't advance out of the qualifying round. Like, he is a bajillion % playing. Like, that's, there's no, everybody that hopes for this sort of stuff needs to understand that he values his international experience more than he values an NBA title. He has said so repeatedly. That said, Luka might be the second tallest player on the Slovenian national team, which doesn't bode well for their Olympic chances. All right, coming up next, Dunning-Kruger Jr., fantastic joining name. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, how are you, Kirk?
I am
quick, mate.
I am great. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Long-time listener, first-time caller, all of that sort of thing. I've been fan of the Mavs since sort of 2004-05. After 2011, spent a lot of time consuming a lot of content from Mavs Moneyball. So, and then the podcast in more recent years through those dark times in between the Dirk and Luka sort of eras. So I just wanted to first and foremost, say a big thank you to you and Josh. Many hours spent listening. Like I said, there were some pretty dark times, and hey, I think you were always probably a bit harsher on Cuban than I was. I sort of believed, but I think you were right on that one. Since he sort of seems to have had a bit less maybe involvement, I think that sale has been in the wings for probably a bit longer than we realised. So I think he probably has been a little more hands-off and giving Nico some time. So I think you were right on Cuban. But yeah, look, I've probably cried a few tears after the games went down 3-0. I still hoped, but I sort of thought this might be the end of what's been a magical run. I just wanted to say a big thanks to you and Josh, to all the Mavs fans who I've listened to give their takes. Some I agreed with, many I didn't, but hey, I listened to them all. So wonderful podcast. I know you and probably most of us feel a bit shitty today, but the future is bright, even if we can't see it right now through all of the green haze that's hanging over us all. But yeah, we've got some good internal growth, and I think we've got a front office that's functional. And after all those years where that wasn't the case, I've got some hope. I think Nico can tweak what needs to be tweaked. I feel we overachieved this year. Personally, I'd love to see Tim Hardaway Jr. and 2 firsts that become available after the last Knicks pick conveys. I'd love to see if we could twist Atlanta's arm and get Bogdanovich. That'd be a pretty handy little addition. But hey, whatever happens, I'm very grateful to you and the Mavs community, and just wanted to say thanks.
Really appreciate that, man. Hope you come on in later shows, all right?
I will do, brother. Take it easy, my man. Get some rest.
We'll see. There is no rest for the wicked. Okay, team. I'm sure Josh and I will be back later this week. I don't know what day. I want to start kind of our series recap shows. I don't really know how much we're going to do about free agency or off season. I just don't know. I don't really like Josh and I have always been shit at the speculatory side of things. So we'll see. All right. Great show. Great season. Appreciate everybody. Y'all are the best. We'll talk soon. Go Mavs.